Pavilion, also online, where we are being live streamed in front of countless video watchers online. I am speaking right now with Christian Ionescu Katrina. He is with Renaissance Electronics America, Inc. And we're going to talk about retailers and marketers. How secure is the data you share? So let's just start off broad. What do you do? What is it that you, what data services are you providing?
Right, so
data related, I should say.
So at Renaissance, I'm responsible for home automation market. We are working with different players in the market to really make sure that they are covered throughout their whole product value and life cycle chain, because we believe that security is not only related, it's not only a point solution, should be throughout the complete value of the product.
So one of the things we were talking about off stage before coming on is the idea of protecting the value. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How are you protecting the value? What is the value? How are you protecting it? What is protecting the value?
Right. So I think security, following the same lines as before, I think security is very similar with the quality, right? You cannot address security when the product is already in the field. You cannot address quality when the product is already in the field. You should have already a well-thought, process to ensure that. When it comes to value, at least for the smart home, there are different aspects of that. The enterprise wants to create more revenue, so they need to reinvent themselves. So connectivity is one piece of that. The users will be able, for example, to connect to their devices in a new way. So value is found at the different points of the smart home integration, and I think it's important to understand for each point where the threats are, so that you can address those vulnerabilities in an efficient way.
And what are the vulnerabilities that people may not be thinking of, right? Like the IoT and the smart home, the first thing that comes to my mind is like zombie DDoS attacks, being used. But what are some vulnerabilities people may not be considering, right, in the smart home?
Right. So if we take a device, right, there can be the ID of the device can be stolen. So ID theft, or data theft, or IP, the software which is running on that device. When it comes to communication, so data in transit, right, man in the middle. And you may not even notice that.
Yeah.
Or when it is on the cloud, as you mentioned, denial of service, but also data theft. And I think last year we have seen a lot of examples related to that. So that is why I'm saying it's not only one point where those vulnerabilities are present, is the whole value chain.
Okay. So when someone comes to you, like, are you working with clients, or are you like, walk me through how someone typically works with you to protect the value that they're creating in the smart home?
Right. So Renaissance historically is very active in the smart home appliance space, right? So we are #1 provider of microcontroller in that space. However, in this new connected home, also our customers are redefining themselves, right? And the whole spectrum, the whole ecosystem becomes more crowded. For example, a connected washing machine, right? We need to talk to cloud. So we talk here about mutual authentication. However, different cloud providers look at this topic in a different way, right? For example, one will require the washing machine maker to ensure a TPM, Trusted Partner Module, technology. Other will require blockchain. So there are different ways to ensure end-to-end secure connectivity. We from Renaissance would need not only to work with the OEM, with the enterprise, but also with the ecosystem like cloud, but also with the smart hub providers like an Apple HomeKit or SmartThings from Samsung, right? So that to ensure that a secure connectivity.
So let's talk about that actually for a second. I want to put a pin in blockchain. We're going to get back to that in a second. But one of the things we've talked about here is sort of as the smart home is evolving, there are definite sort of walled gardens, right? So you have, like you just said, Apple HomeKit. You've got SmartThings and Bixby. You've got Alexa and Google Home. And that even is outside the fact that you have Samsung is going to talk with Samsung. Whirlpool is going to talk with Whirlpool. LG is going to talk with LG. What is the role of sort of standards and how that's changing what you do in creating an effective data protection, value protection solution?
Right. So I think standardization is very important. As of today, as you mentioned, things are, the protocols are different. Even if they are running on the same infrastructure, they are different. So for example, if a washing machine maker would like to connect with both an Apple HomeKit or a Samsung SmartThings, then protocols are different. In the future, we see a world where, where services and apps will kind of get together into one. So I guess this is also a discussion which is ongoing, so that, the user experience is improved, and for the user, all of this security, all of these protocols, all of the different things now when it comes to communication and connectivity will be transparent.
So just for people who may be new to this whole thing and this idea, walk me through what the microcontroller does. So you guys do microcontrollers. What does that enable and why is it so important to consider when looking at this sort of broad picture of protecting the value?
Okay, so we talked before about vulnerabilities on the device itself, and I would like to exemplify it in some key bullets. Where is the value we can bring on the table? We talked about IP theft or data or identity. How we solve the problem is on different levels. Hardware. We have possibility, for example, to inject unique identification of that device into the microcontroller. Services. We have the possibility on the factory floor, even before the device is brought in the market, so at the device birth, to inject those keys into the microcontroller. Or software, we talk about secure boot, for example, which we also inject into the microcontroller or MPU, right? So there are different ways to protect the value, and we as a semiconductor provider are also, enhancing or expanding our capabilities beyond a pure hardware silicon cell.
Okay. What are some things people who come to you for what are some things people should know or be prepared for when they come to you and talk with your company about working with you guys?
So it's very important in this security discussion to understand the value you are trying to protect. And that value can be very different, right? From a simple toaster, you control on-off from your device, from your phone, to maybe a smart hub, right? Where you order goods, or maybe you share your credit card information.
Yeah.
So different connected devices have different level of value to protect, and hence a discussion is needed that value-based or use case discussion is needed so that we can understand what is the complexity, what is the level of security needed. First of all, when we talk about security, it's not only about encryption, right? As I said, from the device birth, making sure that I am talking to the right device, authentication, authorization, up to encryption, and up to other higher level software, like for example, privacy, very important as well. So security is a broader let's say, domain, and it's very important to start first with the use case in mind.
And are you using any kind of machine learning or artificial intelligence in what you guys are doing?
Right, so talking about value, right? Why do I need my device, my washing machine or my refrigerator to get connected? For example, in the future, we see the possibility to do predictive maintenance,
yeah.
right? And And why should I do that? Because the maintenance market is pretty big, right? It costs a lot of money to send somebody at my home and to check what's going wrong, especially when that person doesn't know what may be wrong.
Yeah.
So this is one area of value. The other one can be remote service, right? Why do I need to send somebody when can I really, after I do a thorough predictive maintenance, I can just update the software on the device, remotely update, right?
Yeah.
So these are also areas where we are looking and try, again, end-to-end to understand which are the challenges and how can we offer a complete solution, not only on the device, but also make sure that the cloud and the server, to the device talks and, is connected in the right way.
Okay. And so what is the typical life cycle for a customer for you? Like, it seems like you're early on in the process and then through implementation, but even after it goes live, right? After it's in the home, how long do you typically work with a client or a product?
So the one point of value for connected devices to increase the lifetime in the field, right? You would like a device to keep its relevance, to keep its appeal, and of course to increase the lifetime, right? For example, doing predictive maintenance. So these three areas are very, very interesting for our customers, and this is something we are working on to implement.
Okay, I want to get back to it because it's such a buzzy word right now, but just the idea of blockchain. And part of the popularity of blockchain is the idea that you have a decentralized way to secure communications and transactions between things, whether that's money, but you could also use it for smart contracts or whatever. It seems like it has a broad range of applications. Is that playing a role? Are you guys examining blockchain as a way to provide this sort of value protection?
Right. So as I said, we are very active in the ecosystem, and part of the ecosystem we have cloud providers. When they connect to the device, they specify the rules for the IoT platform. And some of the cloud providers require blockchain to ensure that the authenticity is there and that the security is there. So we are working with those partners to understand those policies and to enable those policies into an end-to-end solution. This may also mean that we'll need to develop maybe software or in the future maybe some specific hardware on our part. But at this moment, the main objective is to be compliant, to play well with the ecosystem.
Okay. What are some of the big trends you see happening right now in sort of the smart home and IoT space?
Right. So I think the one of the biggest challenge which is to connect the third device. So far, I think we have two devices connected, right? I can control with my phone whatever is at home.
Yeah.
The challenge is how can I connect to a third device? How can we go from a point to point to a connected home?
Okay.
And I think this is something. Also, we talked about protocols, right? Uniform, making them more uniform, right? So this is a trend. This is happening. And also what you just mentioned, how can I create more value after I have this connectivity architecture in place? For example, predictive maintenance or remote service. These are keywords which are very appealing because they address a clear pain, a clear problem, either of the user or of the OM.
So when you talk about being able, moving from point-to-point communications to point-to-many communications or many-to-many communications, I'm assuming, is that sort of contextually aware kinds of things, or can you talk a little bit more about, is that what is required in order to make that happen? We talked a little bit about protocols, but is it just companies playing nice with each other, or is it something broader that needs to be brought into the home to enable those kinds of contextually aware or dispersed communication capabilities?
I think it's more like a broader type of activity, and I think everything should lead or leads to more to better use case, better usability for the user, right? Whereas now I can only talk to a device over my phone or control, monitor on off. In the future, this contextual awareness, as you mentioned, and the device is being aware to being able to share that contextual awareness, and based on some software like embedded AI, either on the edge or AI on the cloud, to do something meaningful, to help the user take better decision, or maybe even in some cases to take the decision from them.
Gotcha. So it'd be more not just like maybe my car will let me know, or my car will speak to my door lock or the lights. So when I drive up, it's not necessarily just my phone, but it's the house knowing that I'm arriving,
right,
and it communicating not just like, oh, you know, I want to open the lock, then I want to turn on the light, then I want to turn on the stereo. It's understanding either through learning my routines when I get home, or some other sort of communication to be able to enable many things that happen at one time.
Right,
right.
And along this line, maybe it will be also very important in the future. How am I able to push down some intelligence which is now mostly on the cloud,
yeah,
on the edge? Why? Because of the use case. You may require, for example, in the future, some real-time, some deterministic response of some devices,
yeah,
or a network of devices. So in this case, or maybe storing the data locally, no need to go all the time to the cloud, right? So these are also some trends we are looking at.
Or even pushing data centers closer to the edge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, to enable this, to do whatever that enables. What's something, do you have any insights as to how consumers are interacting with the smart home? Like you work with appliances, right, so on that end, but do you have are you able to glean any insight from how people are adopting and what they're doing inside their smart home and how they're interacting with their smart homes?
I think I just saw on your wall here behind us, right, that, you know, at least some research for US, 26% of the people you interviewed have already some sort of smart device at home, and 50% are eager in the future to buy one.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something which is coming, is growing. We just need to prepare a little bit ahead. And one important thing for security, due to this, let's say, market which really picks up, is how can we make that security piece transparent to the user? The user experience is very important. They should not, for example, when they install for the first time a washing machine or a smart device, right? They should not spend hours in doing that.
Right.
That user experience the first time is very, very important. What we call maybe not zero touch startup, but close to zero touch, right?
Gotcha.
So that it feels good, so that the user can go to a cert, to a force, to more devices connected to each other.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to end. Thank you, Christian. We appreciate you having here. Big round of applause, please.
Thank you, Chris.
Or not. There's only a few people. There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. That guy knows.